books, you were there for 2 nights, both nights. Second one you've gone to.
This is. I was at the very last one night WrestleMania,
That's right,
WrestleMania
35
35.
in New York.
And then the pandemic happened. 36 was in the Thunderdome or whatever they were
The
calling
one
it.
fan. It was
The
no,
one fan went.
was
The
that the
one fan. Yep.
The PC
Yep.
actually.
The Performance Center, the big fan.
Right.
And then they brought it back to Tampa. That was at a partial
Mhm.
capacity. That was not full
Yeah.
capacity.
Right.
That would have been 37,
6,
38. I don't remember where that was.
37, 30, 37.
39 was out in LA, I believe, and then
Yeah.
40 in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia.
Very
Um,
Eagles, very Eagle vibes. Ugh, God.
lot of good colors, man. That stage was. Uh, I liked the stage. I thought the staging was great for a
It
smaller
was. It
stadium.
was.
We
Yeah.
were never going to get what they presented to us at WrestleMania 39. Obviously, SoFi is a much bigger venue. But I thought for the link it was perfect. Um, I think it presented larger on TV during the actual WrestleMania event than like the
Mhm.
reveal did. The reveal, like, oh, it's just a giant XL. But like seeing it in action on WrestleMania
Yeah.
night, it was a sweet thing. Yeah, it was fantastic, man. We
Yeah.
lucked out when we bought tickets. We
Yeah.
got tickets the day they went on sale. We had multiple people trying to get into the queues, and we found club seats both nights, Saturday night and Sunday night. Now different sections.
Right.
Um, you could buy the ticket for
But
the
you all
same section.
but you all sat
There,
together, right? You guys all sat together?
yeah, we did. Tim and Marcus did sit separately, but we all met together. And man,
Mhm.
that was a really cool thing. It was 3 Count Thursday's 10-year anniversary.
That's
We've been
that is the awesome part about all this too. And you can't even script that better. Like you guys started your podcast literally 10 years ago
yeah,
around this time.
yeah.
And the WrestleMania happens to be in your backyard 10 years later
How
on the
lucky.
anniversary, and you guys happen to all be there at the same time. I mean, you can't
How
script it
wild.
better.
You really can't, man. It was such a special moment for all of us and the camaraderie and the
Mhm.
brotherhood. I think that we all feel towards each other. We were able to like honestly looking back on it, it really was like a euphoric moment. Like, wow, I can't. 10 years is a long time to do something with some guys talking
And I
about
think what's cool.
professional wrestling. The waters are muddied, man. There is a ton of professional wrestling podcasts out there. There's a ton that have come and gone in the past 10 years since we've been doing podcasting. So we've changed formats, man. We lived through a pandemic. We've totally. Jim and I were talking about that, man. We were almost stopped the podcast. Jim was really into um, not podcasting during
Pandemic.
the pandemic.
I
So it
remember
would have
that.
been, I guess, 36.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be me and Matt, and I think we had two guests, maybe Samara and Brittany, friends of the show.
Mhm.
We were podcasting, and Jim was telling the story. He was like, "Hey, he was telling his wife, like, hey, I'm gonna just fire up the laptop and join us." We were doing like a Zoom call or something. Like it was
Yeah.
very primitive at the time for for like the pandemic show, but
Mhm.
we wanted to still cover WrestleMania like we've always done. And Jim signed on and we talked professional wrestling and we covered the WrestleMania 36
Mhm.
card with Jim, and we were really off to the races after that. Jim's like, "Damn, this is the outlet that he needed." And that looking back, that it's going to be a really special WrestleMania for wrestling fans because it got us through a really big unknown moment. Um, that was scary, man. Like that's some scary shit when you look back 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and they shuttered NBA seasons, and what is it was just it's wild, and for the WWE to be able to perform the way they did and
And
still
AEW
give.
too. And AEW. To
AEW
the
did
credit.
too. Yep, to
Yep.
their credit. Yep, they were still able to provide um, content through the performance center, through Daly's Place. But to still pull off a WrestleMania caliber card was nothing short of an amazing feat. But
Yeah.
we're here for 40. So 4 years later, as an Eagles fan, man, it couldn't have been a more perfect story for, and I could maybe speak for Matt too, as an Eagles fan, to like be in your football stadium watching WrestleMania with your
Right.
brothers. Like that's
Yeah.
that's awesome. It was Jim's first WrestleMania. It was Matt's first WrestleMania. I went to 35 with Mark. So we have one Mania under our belt, but for all five of us to be in the same stadium of 72,000 or whatever it was every night is
Since
is
2000,
is
yeah.
freaking awesome. It really was.
Was it that a lot of complaints I heard on Twitter during the shows was that it was not as noisy as it should have been, and a lot of the excuse was that it was because of the weather. It was too cold. Is that true?
um, yeah. So the weather, the day of WrestleMania,
A little nippy.
Saturday, the high was like 52.
Right. Correct.
Um, and
Felt like
then like
46.
the
They kept
start
saying
of
it felt like 46.
yeah, which is really cool. I mean, that's something that the NFL does
Mhm.
every week. They're going to give you those stats of what the weather is, how it's going to impact the team, especially in a colder weather environment. So I really like that the WWE leaned into that because it just kind of legitimized the broadcast more like you'd see on an NFL broadcast. So
Correct.
I thought that was a really cool touch this year. But yeah, man, the temperature wasn't off. I've gone to football games. It gets cold. You're in the seats. The problem was Saturday was windy,
Right.
and that wind just cut through you. And you don't. It's 52, so you're not wearing like a
I,
heavy fucking coat.
I heard Joe was
Um,
struggling too because I was texting Jim at the stadium, and
yeah,
Joe had to go up to the up to get warmed up a little bit. It's like, dude, you're from
yeah.
New York. How you so cold? And it's
We
like, oh, it's
should have
windy.
put
Oh,
we should have put Joe between Matt and between Jim and myself. There might have been more body mass to block some of that wind.
Tiny Joe.
But we had club seats. I couldn't imagine the 200s was probably a little bit windier.
Yeah, on top, right.
Um, but the way the stadium set up, like there is a kind of an alley where wind can kind of come through the club level and just it definitely man Monday was sorry Saturday night was chilly. It really was. There was a moment I even took to the concourse, which was a nice heated concourse because it's the club seats.
Right, of course.
And I grabbed some Chicky and Pete's French fries,
Hmm.
their crab fries, and I would normally have taken them back to my seat to eat, but I was just content, um, missing the second half of a match to eat them in the warmth to kind of
Yeah.
recalibrate my temperature to go out for like part two of night one of WrestleMania. So yeah, night one was chilly. Night two was much better. We probably got into match four on the card. And then like a gust of wind came and you just felt the temperature drop like 10 degrees.
Mm.
And then it was, what was the second to last match?
Bailey and Io.
Right. It was Bailey Io and then the main event. So the crowd was just like hyped and elevated. So the cold just didn't bother you then.
Yeah.
Um, Night one had a really long main event. That was a long match, 40 some minutes. Um,
How was it watching that match though with Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth. It's all over the place. It's not in the ring half the
it
time.
it it didn't feel like it was a very long match live.
It was
And
44
here's
minutes
why. It
though.
was 44 minutes. It was yeah,
Yeah.
it was over half an hour. You had this euphoric moment of seeing well, first of all, you got to whoa with Cody Rhodes. That's a big deal. Like the whole football stadium doing
Yeah.
the whoa at
Yeah.
the same time. It's pretty freaking cool. And they
Hmm.
let that theme song play for a bit live in the
Twice
stadium.
on
So
both
yeah,
nights. Yeah.
we were wowing an awful lot, and every single time it didn't like hit that part of the song and the crowd not whoa with them.
Right.
You got to sing with Seth Rollins. Um,
I was dancing in my living room when
that
the
was
song
really
came
cool.
out.
And then Roman Reigns. I mean, it's just a spectacle to see everything that Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman does. And then
Yeah.
you get The Rock's entrance. You get a wrestling entrance at WrestleMania 40 for
Hmm.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson with the lightning and the Brahma bull that's on fire. And the first 15 minutes of the match, you were still high from the entrances.
Yeah.
Like, wow, this is such a cool spectacle. 15 minutes is gone. You don't even really realize 15 minutes is gone.
By the way,
There's plenty of monitors for the
right.
action throughout, so you were able to follow along pretty well. But that match did not feel. I haven't watched it back yet. It may feel longer on TV,
Yeah.
but live in person, man, it did not feel that long.
By the way, I think this run of The Rock, this final boss run, for me personally, solidifies him as a Mount Rushmore guy in WWE history.
I I think you're right.
Reinvention's a big deal for me, and he's
This
still relevant 20 something, 30 something years later.
very relevant.
Yeah,
Very, very relevant. Um, board member, TKO, whatever you want to say, like
yeah,
that was some goat level shit by Dwayne the Rock Johnson. That was really good.
yeah.
I mean, here's the deal. Monday night on Raw, him and Cody Rhodes.
Hmm.
It was about a 40-minute talkie segment to start the Raw after Mania.
Let me ask you, because last year on the podcast you said you hate the Wrestlemania. It's been shitty the last couple of years. Do you feel the same way this year?
Um, it was better than some of the previous Raw after Manias.
Okay, okay.
Um, we saw Roxanne Perez, the new NXT Women's Champion,
Hmm.
and Ilya Dragunov, um, the NXT Men's Champion. So that was cool.
Right.
The
Obviously, Rock and Cody, their whole thing, teasing the future. Which, by the way, I already said. I even before the Raw on Monday, I said Rock and Cody SummerSlam writes itself.
Yeah, I think I love The Rock's honesty
Hmm.
of like the Rock's gotta go away for a little bit. Like that
Yeah,
that gets just it's perfect.
yeah.
Um
To be real, I think this is the Paul Levesque
yeah, the Paul Levesque
era.
era.
Yeah,
But
you could tell.
specifically the Rock and Cody segment on Monday Night Raw, the ratings came in. There was about 3,200,000 viewers for that segment.
Yeah,
And a
amazing.
1.1 in the 18 to 49 demographic. It's the highest quarter hour for a WWE TV segment in years. So that's
Hmm.
like the WWE knows what they're doing.
It's
That
impact.
that seemed like a long segment, but
Yeah,
I was there for the entire segment.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's the Raw after Mania, so we're not getting a ton of debuts. We got Jade. Looks like Jade starting her singles run.
Hmm.
Um, boy, Chelsea Green, I think, does phenomenal work with
Yeah,
what she's given. Like the whole,
I love the character.
it's such a great character, and man, she makes the best out of it. To go out for a squash match against Jade and be like the number one in Jade's single career victories in the WWE. But she just plays that role so well, and it's
Hmm.
so unlikable. She does such a great job. I wanted to shout her out. Um, but yeah, man, it's WrestleMania. If you've never been to one, you have to go to one.
Yeah, it's a bucket list for me, brother. It really is.
It's something like I'm never going to be able to get to a Super Bowl, but I can afford to go to a WrestleMania.
I don't want to go to Super Bowl. To be honest with you, I really don't.
Really?
It's too
Okay.
corporate. It's too corporate for me.
Okay.
Way too corporate for me. I'm good. I go to the NFC Championship game.
And that corporate, I mean, that drives those ticket prices to a level where the
Yeah,
average fan cannot afford to go to a
it
WrestleMania.
doesn't
I'm sorry,
feel
go to
like
a
an
Super
NFL.
Bowl.
It doesn't feel like an NFL game to me. It
That's
doesn't. It
fair.
doesn't feel. It feels more like a well. We're gonna cater to these people who don't watch normally every week, just
That's fair.
cause I'm good. I'm good. I never had a desire. I rather go to NBA Finals, a Stanley Cup, or
Okay.
a World. I rather go to World Series game for crying out loud than I go to Super Bowl. Honestly, and
Yeah,
I
that
love
would be
football. You know
fun.
that.
Yeah.
I'll touch on Cody in a second. He's a champ, obviously. Roman Reigns.
Mhm.
Um, obviously phenomenal reign. Nearly 4 years as champion. I was under the impression I was torn on who to root for in this match because on one hand, I love Roman. I think Roman's fantastic. And I think if we're talking about Rushmore all time, he's closing in.
Mhm.
This run may have just done that. Close had at least make it a conversation. On the other hand, I'm a Hogan mark. I mean, again, my sweet spot all time wrestling is the Hulkamania era. So I know Terry Bollea, obviously, we know his life and all that stuff and what he said in the past, all that. But Hulk Hogan, the character, is one of one for me. Obviously Savage went number one for me than Hogan. Um, but I thought that the only reason I picked Cody to win the match, but I thought the only thing I said was that if the WWE prioritizes Roman beating Hogan's, record of 4 years and some odd days as champion, then Roman wins his match because he would have to get to September to beat the record.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, that's not the case. But what do you see Roman next? So you think he'll take a long time off? We saw a video yesterday of him on an elliptical, I guess it was.
Yeah.
He's day one, when they call that. What do you do, Roman? Do you think Roman takes a lot of time off, or do you think he's gonna be around for a while?
I think he has earned it. Now, obviously, people are going to roll their eyes when you talk about maybe the defenses of the championship that Roman Reigns had compared to somebody like a Hulk Hogan or a Bob Backlund or a Bruno Sammartino.
Mhm.
Um, but professional wrestling is very different then to today. Um, I don't know what good it would have been to beat Hulk Hogan's record. So Roman Reigns goes from 4 to 3 on the list. Is that a big deal to fans to not have this WrestleMania moment where Cody Rhodes finishes his story, gets the championship? Um, you we were talking about this actually in the car ride after WrestleMania. Well, I don't want to say car ride. We were sitting in traffic in Philadelphia having this conversation. Um, but like you had to go through the disappointment of WrestleMania 39, where everybody's like, Cody's going to win. Cody's going to end this 3-year reign of Roman Reigns. So we had to go through 39 and the disappointment of 39 and the shock of like, God,
I loved it, for record.
they are just jamming Roman down our throats. A whole year you had to go through to get to the payoff of WrestleMania 40, where Cody Rhodes did the unthinkable. The great thing about it, man, as a wrestling fan, I didn't know which way they were going to go. And you can make an argument for either way.
And by the
And
way,
there's not a right answer.
And by the way, they did the right thing last year. Roman should have won last year because
Correct.
Cody winning last year would have been too obvious. There was no build because Cody was out for injury, came back and for Royal Rumble, won the Rumble, picks Roman. Okay, cool. But there's no build to that. There's nothing there.
Right.
This is the right way to do it. The way
Hi,
they
I'm
booked it last
Cody.
year
I won
was
the
perfect.
Rumble. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's too obvious. That's too cookie cutter. No. They did the
Cody
right thing.
had to go through hard times after hard times after hard
like his
times.
father. Like his father.
And that just makes the payoff. It makes you want it more and want it more and want it more. And then boom, you get it and you're just like, ah.
The only
What a
thing
great match, man. You got
Yeah.
really great surprises in the title match on night 2. Joe actually said, I have to credit Joe this. It was very ECW style, which was great for a Philly crowd, that a lot of ECW shows ended with like
chaos.
a foil to every chaotic moment. So the chaotic moment of Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, the
Mhm.
chaotic moment of Solo Sikoa, boom, John Cena. And that these all make sense. You have The Rock. You have Shield Seth Rollins, which played such a huge overarching story that Roman was blinded still to this day by the
10 years later.
betrayal of Seth Rollins, because that was really the moment and the chair shot to Seth that left him vulnerable to Cody Rhodes to
Mhm.
finish the story.
Yeah.
And apparently, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, Seth said in a promo to Cody something like, I'm like uniquely qualified to be in your corner. I will be your shield. And at the moment, everybody's like, oh, they made a Shield joke because he was in the Shield. Really cool. But at the end of the day,
That's what happened.
Shield Seth Rollins is what came down and distracted Roman
Open the door for
Reigns
Cody to win.
enough and
Correct.
opened the door for Cody to win.
Long-term storytelling matters, man. Always.
The Rock, and the Undertaker. There's history there. A lot of people were saying like that should have been The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And
I was one of those
quite
people.
frankly, I was waiting real hard. I was filming with my camera. I was like, I'm gonna be at the stage. I want to get glass breaking and like, didn't happen. But
Yeah.
goddamn, did I pop when I heard that gong?
Yeah, and not only that, yeah,
Like
not only that,
I wasn't even thinking the Undertaker.
and the thing is, in hindsight, and someone reminded me of this too. Unfortunately, I wasn't watching the product at the time, but I had reminded this. These are all ghosts of Roman's past. Roman did beat Taker at WrestleMania and WrestleMania
Roman,
33.
yep, he was Taker's second defeat.
Second loss. Yeah.
The next day on Raw, came out and said, "This is my yard now."
Yeah.
So there's no history with Stone Cold Steve Austin and
The
Roman Reigns,
I was saying the
but
history
there
was
is
Stone
with
Cold.
I mean, the history with Stone Cold is The Rock.
Rock,
So if you
correct.
think Rock's foil would be Stone Cold Steve Austin, if it was Rock only, Stone Cold Steve Austin makes a ton of sense.
Right, correct. Correct.
In the storyline of the bloodline, Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't mesh
No.
very well,
No,
whereas The Undertaker
it does.
absolutely had history with The Rock, absolutely had history with Roman Reigns.
Right.
Was it
I
the
think
right choice? Man, glass breaking would have sent Philly over the
I mean
fucking
Stone Cold Steve Austin
edge.
is the biggest superstar to this day in the history of WWE. To
It
this
would
day.
have been huge. So much so that even after the match, I wouldn't have been shocked to hear glass breaking for Stone Cold to come out, cheers a beer with Seth Rollins.
Right.
Or I'm
Right.
sorry, with Cody Rhodes. Like I was that mentally prepared to see Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania that not having it didn't take away from WrestleMania, but like
Right.
I built in my own mind this scenario where like Austin has to be here.
Right.
Fine that he wasn't. But
Mhm.
it's a slightly disappointing, man, when you
Yeah.
want something like that and you're like, it's gonna be bong ah.
Yeah. Um
And the crowd night 2 was good, man. The crowd night 2 was
oh,
on
much better.
point.
Much more engaged. More way
Yep,
more
yep.
engaged than night
They
one.
popped
No
for
question.
everything they should have
Yeah.
popped for.
Yeah. I will say this much though. My takeaway from that match is this with Roman is this. Roman had his Hogan moment, Mania 6 moment after night 2. And it's even more pronounced after watching Raw and the way the crowd reacted to Roman. You know, Cody did his, giving his props. Thank you, Roman, whole nine. You remember after WrestleMania 6 when Hogan lost to the Warrior?
Which moment are you specifically talking about?
Hogan Warrior when Warrior beat Hogan for the title
Mhm.
at 6. What was Hogan's tag at that point?
What was Hogan's what?
What was it? What was he introduced as after that match? Because there was a shift. Hogan lost the title, but Hogan was made immortal.
Immortal, right? Immortal.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't knowing where you were. Yes,
Roman Reigns is now immortal
correct.
with
I
this
agree.
feud.
Mhm.
And we'll see if Cody can sustain this. Because again, I've been saying, for a long time that the chase is easy. People underrate how important the chase is. Part of Stone Cold Steve Austin's success. Stone Cold Steve Austin, for the record, the most popular superstar in the history of the company.
Mhm.
However, not even close to one of the greatest champions of all time. He doesn't have any memorable reigns. Think about it. Think about all his title reigns. Not memorable. His chase has been memorable though to the
Always
title.
has been. Yep.
Right. So the chase is easy. The chase is the money. The money's in the chase, I say. Cody for the last year and all that. That was the money. The money
Mhm.
spot. Now you got there. You got to the grass ring. You finished the story. Now what? And that's the challenge. And I will say this much because I think Cody will succeed on this because unlike a guy like Ultimate Warrior who wasn't dedicated to his craft, even though he was very much over at the time.
Mhm.
One could argue as if not more than Hogan in 1990. Cody at least has the pedigree. Cody
Mhm.
Rhodes also has the lineage. And Cody Rhodes
Mhm.
is just dedicated and is a much better locker room guy. People respect him. And I think he will be a successful champion. Now, how long holds the belt this reign? We'll see what happens there.
Yep.
You already seen the seeds already? How do you book Cody going forward? We're already seeing that Rock will be in the picture at some point. I already said pencil in Cody and Rock SummerSlam this year, but it writes itself. Who pinned Cody on Saturday? The Rock did. That's a story right there you're telling.
Mhm.
But moving forward, and this is how I knew Roman was going to lose. I knew Roman was going to lose on Saturday night. You know how I knew Roman was going to lose? Gunther losing
Really?
was my clue.
Okay.
Yes, because if you're going to have Roman exit stage right, you need to start elevating guys to the main event picture.
Okay.
And I said this on Saturday. I tweeted this on Saturday too during the show. Gunther, in essence, losing to Sami Zayn, he had his Randy Savage moment. Let me explain. This goes back to WrestleMania 3. Steamboat Savage, arguably the greatest match in history of WrestleMania. Arguably.
Fantastic wrestling match.
Right. Steamboat won, right? Steamboat won. Who was the bigger star at the end of that match, though? Who ended up benefiting more than anybody else in that match?
Oh yeah, and Macho Man went
Savage.
on to have a much bigger career. Yeah.
Right. He got elevated.
Hmm.
And eventually, what happens with Gunther, I think Gunther is going to be elevated to the world title picture. I already see a scenario, barring any unforeseens. Next year's WrestleMania is going to be Gunther and Cody Rhodes.
Really?
That's my prediction.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that sometimes the WWE tells you what they're doing, and history always repeats itself. And in the event of Savage lost title to IC title to Steamboat, has one of the most amazing runs in that year without the title. You know, him and Honky had a little battle and all that stuff. And then by WrestleMania 4, he's champion of the tournament.
Wow. All right. I I think we get to Seth Gunther before WrestleMania of next year. I think Gunther has an obvious claim to being like, I was the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion.
Correct.
I deserve a shot at the step up belt. So I think we get to Seth, or I'm sorry, to Cody Gunther before Mania. Now, whether it's revisited at Mania, who knows? I just feel like Gunther Cody is a great Night of Champions or a great
Survivor Series, at least?
Survivor Series style match,
You
right?
don't think,
That
you think
maybe
WrestleMania?
I don't think that's a WrestleMania match yet. Um, I think. I mean, who knows? I think. I don't know if you get the Rock at WrestleMania. If you don't get or at SummerSlam, if you don't get the Rock at SummerSlam, I think you're looking at Rock Cody
WrestleMania.
next year at
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a bigger stage.
And that's right. That's huge. That's the Rock saying, "You had our number. You had Roman's number, the Bloodline. Uh, I told you I'd be back to collect. Now I'm back." I think Cody retains there too, if that's the case.
My
But
question is
yeah,
this,
man,
though.
I think you're
If you
absolutely
go,
right. Gunther looked like a star coming out of Saturday night, and Sammy looked great too. I going into WrestleMania, that would have been one of my like slam dunk matches. Gunther's retaining. I was fairly certain
I
Gunther
was
was
too.
going to
I
retain
did. Me too.
in that match. Um, as much as I thought Rhea Ripley was going to retain. So
Mhm.
as that Sammy match went on, I even said it to it was either Matt or Joe or Jim or Mike, one of those four guys that like I didn't know how much I wanted Sami Zayn to win this match, but as that match went on, the support around Sami, the whole stadium was buying into this notion that Sami Zayn might be able to do the unthinkable here and beat Gunther because we've not seen anybody even challenge Gunther where it's like the belt's in trouble. This is the first time we're seeing Sammy, and they put Gunther over so good. Gunther was whooping Sammy's ass.
Mhm.
And then brainbuster, haluva kick to the back of the head, haluva kick. 1, 2. Everybody's kind of thinking it's going to be a 2 count, and Gunther's going to just kick out, and like, boom, 3. You're like, what? Like that was the match, the moment of Monday of night 1 of Saturday night.
Absolutely. Best match
Damn,
tonight.
just God, you just have to get to a WrestleMania, man. The
I
the
will.
the pomp and circumstance of everything, the
Yeah.
lights, and the camaraderie of just everybody. There's something about being in a stadium of 72,000 people, all cheering or booing the same thing. Like there's something about that, man.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's just you just have to experience it.
If you had to pick one WrestleMania of the 40 to, like God says, you can rewatch any WrestleMania, and I'll drop you into the crowd that WrestleMania. You got to pick one WrestleMania. Which one do you pick?
Boy, um, 31 would have been
Play button.
special. You
Play
see you
button.
see play button, that is Seth Rollins cashing in during a match which we've never seen before to open the show.
Hmm.
You've got Sting, the nostalgia of the NWO and DX with
Yeah.
Sting and Triple H. You have fucking Rusev coming out in a tank. You have Undertaker and Bray Wyatt on a WrestleMania
Hmm.
stage.
Yep.
Man, 31 was a fantastic WrestleMania. Um, oh, maybe an older one.
Mine is 5, but Trump Plaza. It's my favorite one. 5,
Sure. 3, I
3
mean, it's such an
definitely.
iconic moment, man.
Yeah,
Like
being there for the moments. Yeah.
Hogan slamming Andre, saying you saw that live.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like that's a moment that even non-wrestling fans are familiar with. Like they'll know Hogan picking up Andre and what Andre looked like, and just that moment's just
And that was a good
wild.
card in general. That actually people talk about Andre's tag with Steamboat, but that card was actually really really good.
Wasn't a bad
Again,
card.
that's
Yeah.
my era. So again, I'm a little more tuned into like what was going on in the mid cards too back then. Junkyard Dog and King, Harley Race, and Roddy Piper against Adrian Adonis, Piper's last match for
Hmm.
2 years. So I'm a little more plugged in. So that was actually a really good card in general. I mean, obviously he's not doesn't have the flair the same way of today's athletes, but you have to look at it
No,
from
no,
our
but
perspective.
wrestling's different
Right.
than it is today. So yeah, I would say either 31 or 3 would be
Yeah.
a really cool moment to do.
Yeah,
Obviously,
definitely. By the way,
the
we
the,
told.
the personal feeling of WrestleMania 40, like I said, with doing it with my guys, the
Yeah, that's so
podcast,
different.
like that's so cool.
Yeah.
To relive that moment. And again, it says some recency bias because it would just happen, but
Mhm.
I've been on cloud nine all week.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
If you had told me though the Usos match, I mean, I don't know how you felt about that, but it was the worst match in the weekend. I would have called you a liar, and yet it was, in my opinion, the worst match in the
Yeah,
weekend.
that was a dud of a match, man. Again, watching it back is the first time I really realized it wasn't a good match.
Yeah,
Because when you're in the crowd and you're eating with everybody,
yeah,
man, like it's the moment that forgives a subpar match
hmm,
because it's the moment and every J yeet, like that's fun, man.
yeah,
Yeah, that's so you get lost in the atmosphere. You didn't even realize it was a bad match until we
right.
watched it back. I was like, "Yo, that match was
It never got a first
the
gear.
drizzling shits." It didn't, and they made up for it. I think their spot night 2, getting speared off the stage,
Hmm.
the entrance ramp, I think made up for a bit of that. But
You're gonna say yes. I'm gonna say that too.
that
Yeah,
was a pretty cool moment. But
yeah.
yeah, that match just didn't do it. Um, the Philadelphia street fight.
That
Um,
was that was better than I thought it was gonna be. That match had no business being as good as it was. I thought
Yeah,
that was been a
it was
dud.
better than I thought it was going to be, but the crowd popped because it had Snoop on commentary. So you hit to hear Snoop and see Snoop's
Did you
entrance.
guys
You're
hear?
like, "Holy shit!"
Did you guys hear him?
No, you don't hear his commentary, but just
Okay,
you heard
because
you heard the entrance.
he was hysterical on
Oh,
commentary.
it's hilarious. I
I
went
was
back and watched it.
Oh my
It's
god!
so good.
I was touching Jim after during the match, like, dude, you got to Snoop when you get home. This shit is
It's
hysterical.
hilarious.
Yeah,
It's some of the best commentary work um, of the entire weekend. And then you pop for Bubba Ray Dudley. It's cool to see
yeah,
here
it's
in
cool. Yeah,
Philadelphia. It's a
yeah.
hardcore match. We've got some tables. Of course, Bubba's going to be part of that. So again, you can look at lower moments of the weekend and be like, oh, but again, you're in the stadium, so you forgive a poorer match because you pop for Snoop, you pop for Bubba Ray, you pop for Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey in the tag match.
You pop for that. I don't pop for that. I'm a
I
Giants fan.
I missed it.
You missed it. You in the bathroom?
That was my crab fry match.
Some Eagle fan you are.
I know. I know. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
God,
That was
that's
that was
terrible.
my that was my match. And
Yeah,
then after the fact, I got the text, dude, Jason Kelsey. I was like, fucking hell, I just missed it. I know I missed it.
you
And
bastard.
sure enough, why wouldn't you text me 5 minutes ago? I'm just here eating crab fries. Of course I'd have been out.
Biases aside, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, greatest WrestleMania of all time." I completely disagree with that. First of all, I think the last two are better as a show in comparison.
Really? Okay.
Biases aside, because I know obviously you being there, you're gonna feel a different way about it. Where does this WrestleMania stack up for you all time? Top
This
10, 5? I mean, as a card, not just as you being there, as a card.
I think the outcomes were fantastic. I think the right folks won the matches that they were supposed to win. Bailey getting her win is a really cool moment. Obviously, that Roman Reigns match night 1 to win set up everything for night 2.
Mhm.
Cody Rhodes going over is a huge moment. I don't know how you don't look at this card and the outcome of paying off a 4-year storyline of the bloodline with Cody Rhodes
Mhm.
being a major part of that and not include this um, as a really important WrestleMania moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rhea Ripley retaining, I thought was the right call. What are some of the other matches? I thought the three-way match for the United States Championship showed out really well,
Mm-hmm.
and all guys looked really good coming out of that. Um, with Logan Paul retaining, that makes sense, especially with SummerSlam in Cleveland this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see what else was there. You saw um, the the six woman match. Jade making her WrestleMania debut. That was an important moment. I think, and it's hard. And Jim and I talked about this. Jim said like he'll never be able to rank this WrestleMania fairly, and he's
Yeah, he admitted
absolutely
it. He
right.
admitted it. He
You
admitted it.
can't. You can't. Um, there were moments of 35 that being there live, you were like, wow, that's historic. Coming out of 35, I would have probably ranked that a top 5 WrestleMania. I've softened on that a bit. Um,
Too damn long though.
I put 40 probably in the top 5.
Top five.
I
Interesting.
do. I put this in the top 5.
Definitely top 10 for
Obviously,
me.
Triple H is going to come out on Monday Night Raw the following night and say, I can say that was the greatest WrestleMania of all time until next year when I can say it again.
And then after
That's
that,
right.
right?
And the year after that, like that's you have to put over the product that you just witnessed.
Yeah.
It smashed some records this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, NXT was the highest gate at an NXT show ever for
Did you go
Stand
to
and
the next?
Deliver.
I know
We
somebody
did
else.
do, yeah. We were on the
Oh,
floor
y'all
for
went.
Stand and
Okay.
Deliver. That was a
Right.
fantastic show.
Okay.
Um, yeah. This again, I'm probably not judging it fairly either.
Yeah.
Um, because even when I watch it back, I'm never going to be able to watch it back seeing it for the first time. I'm always going to watch it back
As a
and
fan.
remind myself of a moment of being there live. So it's never. It's hard to answer. It's a top 5 for me.
I'll say it's definitely top 10 for me. Up the shoot. I will need to let it simmer a couple like a year or so before I decide if it's a
Today,
top five.
what are 3? Just 3 that you put above this.
Um, 17 obviously.
Okay.
3.
Okay.
I love 19. I love 19.
Okay.
And to me, this is the thing. This is how I grade what a great WrestleMania is, a great card in general. I need to have at least 3 to 4 matches that stand out on its
Okay.
own. And those shows have that in spades.
Okay.
3 has at least 3, 4 matches. 19 definitely has 3, 4 matches. More than that, actually, in my opinion. 17, the entire damn show was phenomenal.
I think
I
17
love
always
30.
going to be in question for one of the
Right.
greatest WrestleManias of all time.
I love 38 and 39. Love 30 and 39.
Okay.
Love them both. I thought that the cards were that had so much enough moments for me to say yes.
Let me strip that question down a little bit more.
Okay.
Specifically talk about the Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes main event night 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the greatest main event match in WrestleMania history? And if not, what would you put above that? Would
No,
you
it's
put
not
Rock Austin from 17 above that?
easily. I thought Rock Austin 19 was not a main event actually. So that's telling you right.
Right, yeah, specifically just the main
Is
event.
it top
Right.
10 off the rip? Yes. Although I would argue that last year's was just as good, if not better.
Okay.
I think we loved the moments at the end of the match
For sure.
itself.
The
But I
payoff.
think
Yep.
I think the actual match last year was phenomenal. I will say Roman though wasn't his bag in this match this year.
Okay.
Roman shit talking to cameras and this and that. I don't know if you watched the playback yet of the match itself, but
I've not watched the main event
Roman
yet.
was in his bag. Roman was all heel. Was oh my god talking shit to the cameras and this and that. That made this match just as good as last year's.
How did that entrance come across the orchestra? Was that
That's all
pretty
right. It's
solid?
good.
Okay.
I would rather have it regular. I'm
Okay.
basic. I'm a
Okay.
basic guy. I'd rather have this regular music on there because
That's
I
fair.
want it.
I mean, night
look,
2 overall felt more like a WrestleMania than night 1.
night
Like we
2
had
was 9.5 out
night
of
2
10.
blew night 1 out of the water. Like
Yeah,
night 2 had the Drew get the special entrance, the mummers with Seth Rollins. Of course, he's
Mm-hmm.
dressed as a mummer. How
Dude,
fucking course,
that dude was nuts. His wrestling those 2 nights were nuts. Like, what is he wearing? Oh wait, what's he wearing now? That kind of thing.
right?
To me, like, look, I don't want to sound biased because of my era. I have a hard time taking up Hogan Andre because you had to be there to
Hmm.
understand the massive big deal that was in 1987. You had to understand how big it was.
Sure thing,
Forget
Pappy.
forget all the oh well, it didn't have this glitz and glamour. No, you got to understand Hogan Andre was a massive deal in
It
1987.
didn't need the glitz and glamour.
It
It
still is
didn't.
today. We'll talk about it today. Is
Right.
no.
Right.
But like main events wise, and I'm actually gonna do a podcast on this probably in the next couple of weeks. Ranking my top 10 favorite main events.
Of WrestleMania.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear that. Let me know when that drops. I'm
Yeah,
100%
you
going to
want to
tune
come on
into
the
that.
episode list? Want to come on the
I
episode list?
don't. I don't
You,
because I can't
you
judge
can't
40 fairly.
you can't 40.
I wouldn't
Well,
be able to judge it fairly.
I mean,
But I'd love to listen objectively
yeah.
and hear your opinion on the top 10 that you put in.
I think you have to put this one there in the top 10 definitely off the rip because this feels like an inflection point, not just for Roman and Cody, but for the company as a whole. And that has to matter. You know what I mean? That has to matter. We're in a new era now.
Mhm.
This weekend was the official end of Vince McMahon
Yep.
WWE.
Yep. And the
And
coronation of the
and
Paul Levesque era,
right.
right?
And they
We heard that a lot this weekend.
right, and they made that very clear,
Very clear.
in rhetoric and in actions.
So much so, I thought night 2 when Stephanie came out
Yes.
that she was going to say like, "You may know me as Stephanie McMahon,
Hmm.
but today I'm Stephanie Levesque." And we
Yeah.
were actually going to get a name change for Stephanie. Like I was surprised that that didn't happen. And I don't know, maybe a couple years ago or maybe a couple months ago, I don't even know what it was. Like there was some rumors that they weren't doing well as a couple, but
Yeah.
whatever, it's not my business. But
There's married
if
couples
they're
have had
better
issues.
now, I was really thinking to remove the name McMahon. And the McMahon, the name didn't do anything wrong. Vince McMahon, the human being, was on trial with some of these things. So there wouldn't be a reason to change her name from Stephanie McMahon to Stephanie Levesque, but I thought it could have happened. But yeah, we're definitely in the Paul Levesque era, and man, I'm excited to see 1 year, 2 year, 5 years down the road what that's gonna look like.
And
Uh,
they're definitely diminishing Vince's roles in that company,
for
not just in
sure.
creative, but also I know a report that came on Monday that TKO is looking to buy out as much as they can stock out of him to the
Don't
point
blame
where he
them.
only 4% left, 4.2% or whatever it was of the company,
Hmm.
basically making him almost relevant.
Dude, and good riddance to Kevin Dunn and his style of production. The WWE has been hitting grand slams with those long shots where you'll see like Sami Zayn backstage and then
Hmm.
Sami Zayn walk through Gorilla, walk through the staging and out. Love it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you checked any of the speed out the WWE speed, the 3 minute matches they put on
No,
Twitter?
I need to. I
Check them
need
out,
to.
man. Different camera angles. You get
Mm.
this long, continuous, like establishing shot of the ring. It's kind of an elevated shot
Hmm.
from the boom camera that we just don't see in professional wrestling, especially the WWE. They became very formulatic or
Formulatic.
yes, of
Formulaic.
formulaic
Right.
of their camera work. So everything um is a fresh kind of feel to it and has like a lifelong wrestling fan. You're like, change. This is welcoming. This is neat. What a cool shot
Yeah.
to take the camera through Gorilla. I shouldn't be seeing this. This is the backstage area. Like this is different. But an era like where kayfabe's dead, who gives a shit? Everybody
Yeah.
knows what Gorilla is. Everybody's seen the documentary of Brock maybe coming back and throwing the belt at Vince McMahon,
Hmm.
after it, or a hug of somebody backstage. That
Yeah.
Sami Zayn did it this weekend. It was that really long shot from his family, talking with his family, and followed Sammy up, caught Kevin Owens through Gorilla out to the crowd. Man,
Yeah.
fucking just awesome. Something so different
Yeah.
that man, the WWE's just
They're crushing it right now.
hitting home runs, man. They're printing money, that's for sure. With 18 consecutive television sellouts. Psh,
Yeah.
come on.
Meanwhile, AEW is struggling to not even crack 800,000 viewers over every event
Business is
tonight.
good. Here's the deal.